Have you ever seen those commercials with the young children in Africa who are dying or sick from diseases? Have you wondered how you could help those young children? My guest today, Annette, has actually taken some action in that area. Welcome, Annette, to DiverseCity.
I'm glad to be here.
What's the organization that you're with?
Kingston Grandmother Connection, and we work for two organizations. One is the Stephen Lewis Foundation for the Grandmothers for Grandmothers campaign,
Yes.
and the other one is Help Lesotho.
What's this Grandmother to Grandmother campaign about?
They send money over and help with education, with AIDS education, with regular education, supporting the grandmothers who are raising their children after the parents have died. In Lesotho, for example, 30% of the children are have lost their parents to HIV/AIDS.
How
And
awful.
It's terrible, and so we do a lot. We do mostly fundraising, and we call ourselves, grandmothers helping grandmothers, but it's grandmothers and grand others because it's an all-women organization, and we also have many members who don't have grandchildren yet, or will never have them, but do want to be involved.
So the Stephen Lewis one, now that are the grandmothers on the other side, are they in Africa or?
They're all
All
they're
in
in
Africa.
Africa, yeah.
The other organization only deals with Lesotho.
Yes, Help Lesotho only deals with Lesotho, and that has a personal connection. Dr. Peg Herbert was teaching at the Ottawa University, and she had a female student from Lesotho and heard about the problems in that country, which are enormous. It's one of the poorest countries in Africa, and the one of the hardest hit ones by AIDS.
And where exactly is Lesotho?
Lesotho is surrounded by South Africa. It's in the sub-Saharan Africa, and has 2 million inhabitants. It's a constitutional monarchy with the elected parliament and prime minister, and it's a very, very poor country, because especially the droughts have just been terrible for this country. There's some tourism. You don't hear about it often on the news, because there are no real racial conflicts and religious conflicts. 84% of the inhabitants are Christian, probably became Christians through missionaries, and so you don't hear much about them. There are no major events happening there as such. Except I think it's incredible that the grandmothers who have had to mourn the death of their children now are raising their own grandchildren, and with hardly any means. I mean, they are so poor. So that's why, and I have a special connection to grandmothers. I am a grandmother I'm expecting the 9th grandchild this month, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have 8 step-grandchildren.
Wow.
I was raised to a large degree by my own grandmother.
That's almost a baseball team.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And also I was raised and born in Germany, and many of, especially my brother's contemporaries who was born during the Second World War, many of his friends were raised by their grandmothers, because the fathers never returned from the war and the mothers had to earn a living, so the grandmothers played a major role in their lives. So and my grandmother was very important for me, and I hope I'm very important for my grandchildren. And I love having them. I'm happy to see them come, but I'm also happy to see them go, because there's one family of 8, and it's exhausting, and I can't for the life of me see how I could just raise them on my own, and therefore I have the deepest admiration. And that's why I joined the Kingston Grandmother Connection. Only last year I found out about it, because now, that I am retired, I have more time for other interesting and useful, meaningful projects.
So what is it that the organization does? How do you help?
We help mostly through only through fundraising, really. We want, our idea is to basically give them, provide them with self-help. We give them funding so that they can raise their own, that they have small businesses that they can then make some money through.
What kind of businesses?
Mostly handicraft and working with cloth or jewelry. We have provided them with money for ovens, for eyeglasses, I mean, all very basic things, for shoes, and especially we are focused on also on the granddaughters, because we do feel if we educate the women and help them create some gender equality, the country is going to be better off. The grandfathers, you know, when I first joined this group, I asked, what about the grandfathers? I mean, they can't all be, you know, dead. No, but they're out of the picture. In Africa, it's the grandmothers who raise the grandchildren with a lot of hardship. But an incredible spirit. I've seen them dance, and you know, we have seen videos of them. I haven't been there myself, but dance, and they have these, and we have helped build community halls. We have, really organize conferences for the girls, leadership conferences for the girls, so that then they can train other girls to become leaders. Then many of our members, we have 200 members, and
this is just in Kingston?
In Kingston, yeah.
Wow.
It has grown it started with 4. And we have 200 now.
That's a lot of grandmas.
Yes, and even though not all of them are actively involved in the fundraising, they contribute very much on their own, because many of them sponsor young girls for their high school tuition, which is about $500 a year, which is an incredible, unattainable amount for the grandmothers. They could never come up with this. And school uniforms and material for schools, shoes.
So a grandmother here will sort of sponsor a child.
Sponsor a child there.
Pay the $500, yes. And that takes care of a year of school for them.
And we also have schools involved. Annually, we help about 10,000 children, mostly girls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's and we have, the good thing about this organization is that we don't have any overhead. I mean, basically nothing, 1%. If when we have fundraising events, we may have sometimes have to rent a hall, but basically the Kingston chapter, 99% goes sent to Ottawa then, and in Ottawa they have 3 full-time staff. So overall, 84% go directly to help the people in Lesotho. And also, as I said, we split what we give to the Stephen Lewis Foundation and to help Lesotho.
So if I give you $100, then
you could decide.
$84 is going to go directly to the grandmothers and to the grandkids.
Yes. Exactly, and that
now
really
let me ask you: do you yourself get a chance to go and meet these grandmothers and grandkids?
I'm so busy visiting my own grandchildren in Israel.
Priorities.
And priorities, and of course it's a question of money, because we would never take money from the organization to travel there.
Right.
But we do have the founder of the organization goes several times a year. Right now she is in Lesotho. Wow. And writes letters, monthly letters, which you can find on the Help Lesotho website. I almost feel I've been there already, because by now I have looked through, I have seen so many videos and heard so many stories. And it's the dignity of these grandmothers I find incredible. Poverty has not robbed them of their dignity at all.
It's wonderful.
Which I find so remarkable.
So do you have any projects that you've got on the go just at the moment?
Yes, we are preparing for our first spring market, which will be at the Citadel, Salvation Army Citadel on Centennial Drive. And already everything, we have some people who are super organized, preparing tables, and plants will be sold and all sorts of other things, and there's entertainment for children. And our last fundraising was in November, and we actually ended up with 23,000 net.
Wow.
Which is quite amazing.
That's
and
not so
you know,
bad.
we collect items, and usually people donate quite valuable items, vintage clothing, jewelry, paintings, and we have many, many really artistic members in our group, and they produce items themselves that they then donate, and
Lovely.
people do a lot of fundraising.
So if my grandmother, if she wants to join,
Yeah.
she just contacts you by getting hold of you through the Facebook page and
Yes,
the
yes,
website?
yes,
Is that
yes.
right?
Or G2G, Grandmothers to Grandmothers. We are on internet there too.
Beautiful.
Yes, and we're always looking for new members, and even if they don't want to be actively involved, like we have a monthly meeting, about 30 to 40 people come to the meetings, and it's all very much, you know, it's very efficient. And people come up with great suggestions. For example, we have these ideas for fundraising. One lady came up with the idea that before Thanksgiving, that we would, whatever we went shopping, you know, if we had to go shopping for large families, the same amount we would then donate to the organization, whoever wanted to. There's no pressure, which is wonderful. You don't feel, you don't feel guilty if you don't participate in individual fundraising events. But if you do, and if you come up with new ideas, there was one friend of mine, she did a garage sale and she made over $1,000 there.
Wonderful.
I mean, it is quite amazing. So it's really grassroots, whatever ideas we come up with. I have, for next fall, I have an idea. I used to be a drama teacher here, an English teacher here, even though I'm an immigrant and German is my first language. But I taught English, and I want to do a grandmother-grandchild fundraising event where I will do drama with the grandparents and the grandchildren.
Well, that sounds wonderful, Annette.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.